Welcome to Latte with a Lawyer, a podcast dedicated to bringing you the stories of some of America's most successful lawyers, figuring out what makes them tick, how they creatively solve problems, and how others aspiring to be them can follow in their footsteps.
Okay, folks, welcome to another episode of Latte with a Lawyer. I'm your host, Jonathan Brickman, and this morning we have with us from Missouri, not Kansas, Charlie Harris from the law firm of, and again, I'm going to screw it up now, Seyferth Blumenthal and Harris, and this is Charlie Harris of that Harris. So good to have you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, absolutely. So just to get started, Latte with a Lawyer. What's your morning beverage of choice to get going?
It is coffee with just a little bit of almond milk in it, and I'm good to go.
Good. Almond milk. So you're off the dairy too?
I am.
Yeah, me too. I usually have coconut milk, but I got off dairy a while ago. My daughter's a vegan, so she her influence pushed me in that direction. I'm not a vegan, but dairy doesn't go well after a certain age, right?
No, and it actually doesn't go well, that or red meat after you stop or modify your diet. I actually went out to dinner last night with a couple of friends and a couple of the guys, and it was a healthy order of steaks all around, except for me and one other guy. He had tuna and I had chicken.
Wow.
And they got a good laugh out of that. So
Oh yeah, that's pretty funny. Well, guys and steak kind of go together, right?
they do. They do.
Were you an athlete? You looked like you were an athlete.
I had the opportunity to play in high school and had the opportunity to be recruited to play football and track at a number of small schools across the country.
Oh, nice. Excellent. Good stuff. And now you're a lawyer, so good deal.
Now I'm a lawyer.
Excellent. So tell us about the kind of work that you do.
Um, as you said earlier, my law firm is Seyferth Blumenthal and Harris, and our law firm does probably about 65% or 60% employment litigation work, much of it on the defense side.
Okay.
My practice is centered around employment work, largely on the defense side, somewhat on the plaintiff side, depending on the particular issue. And additionally, I have had some really interesting opportunities lately. I've been named a special master on products liability cases, as well as a receiver for an estate that's connected to a murder trial.
Ooh.
And so I get a nice variety by judges calling and so forth. And I also get to arbitrate cases for AAA as well.
Okay, cool. Interesting. So employment. So it looks like you've done a lot, you got a lot of accolades about being a trial lawyer. So are you going before juries in the kind of work you're doing? You are.
Yes. And I think, I always laugh when you talk about accolades. I tell people you're only as good as your last trial and then the one after that. So I'm fortunate enough to have aligned myself with generally very good clients. The team that I have and the lawyers that are partners at my firm, we all lean on each other. So it's a wonderful experience. And any accolades I get, quite frankly, are a result of the team that I have.
Oh, you're a good leader, giving the credit to the team. All right. I'm sure you're being modest.
Oh, no, I mean, they are spectacular.
Okay. Are. So give me so you get in front of a jury. How often do you get in front of a jury?
It just depends. There could be a year. I've gone 3-4 years and never been in front of a jury. Now I'll have arbitrations during that period in time, which are just as stressful and just as high stakes.
Yep.
We'll have cases that go almost up to trial and so forth. So it just depends. What most of America doesn't understand, that it's really people glorify trials, but the reality is it's about 2% of cases that go to trial.
Yeah.
And so it's not like when I came aboard, graduated from law school, some of the partners at that time, some of the more senior lawyers, let's say they were in their 60s or 70s or 80s, they would talk about being in trial 4 days a week, every week. That's how they learned, because they would try all kinds of cases. In the area of specialization, in the area of big jury verdicts, with the advent of mediation and arbitration, there's less of a focus on jury trials.
Yeah. At 2%, that's not, I thought it was like more like 5, but you think it's 2% nationally?
I think it's about 2 to 3%. The last numbers that I saw in my area was about 2.8%.
Okay.
And I extrapolate that, of course, thinking that we're fairly typical.
Yeah.
For most
And
cases.
yeah, no, I realize that most things do not go to jury trial, but you're preparing in the event that it does go there, right? So you
Absolutely. The minute a case comes in, my mantra has always been, and it was the way I was mentored, take a look at that and say to yourself, this will be a trial. And so all the questions you ask in a deposition, all the witnesses that you talk to, all the documents that you gather are all centered around that idea.
yeah,
That
for sure.
ultimately there's going to be 12 or 6 people or 8 people, 9, depending on the jurisdiction, sitting in a box, and they want to know the full story. And um, so if you don't look at your case that way, I'm not sure that you are servicing your client in the best way, to be frank with you.
Yeah. So how do you get ready for that? I mean, how do you test your argument to make sure that it's going to resonate and land the right way in the event that you do get in front of 12 people?
Everybody has their own method. My method is this. I'm absolutely convinced that juries are made up of people you went to high school with, or your next door neighbor, or the uncle who comes to Thanksgiving and embarrasses everyone every year.
Yeah.
Right? In other words, they're normal people.
Right.
And so I have a group of normal people, um, one in my law firm, 2 in my family, that I will ask them if certain things resonate and why not. And it has been pretty fruitful because, when you're in the thick of it and you're working 18-hour days, you start, as I like to say, the room gets very loud. And the reason why it gets loud is because everyone's batting their eyelashes because they're in love with their own arguments.
Right.
And the problem with that is, of course, is we're not trying the case to ourselves. We're trying it to normal people, the people that make up our families, the people that make up our members in our synagogue or church or mosque. Those are the people. And so you better get in touch with them so that you can bounce those arguments off of them. I do that for appellate arguments. It's particularly good for appellate arguments as well.
Okay. Do you ever use mock trials or focus groups to help?
I tend to gravitate away from them, if you would.
Yeah.
I've used them before. In fact, I had a client hire me to play the role of a well-known plaintiff's lawyer, and we tried it in front of 10 different juries before they took the trial. It went to trial, and then ultimately the case went to the Supreme Court.
Wow, big case.
Yeah, it was. It really was. Really interesting experience in that I tell people that one of the, if there is something interesting about my career, is that I didn't go to law school straight out of college. And in fact, the beauty of that was after undergrad, I actually sat on 2 juries.
Oh.
So this is not an academic exercise for me. I've sat in there and I recall that immensely. And then when I had the case I just talked to you about, very interestingly, once we went through the trials, we were able to see in real time each of the 9 or 12 jurors, I think it was 9 or 10 jurors, I can't remember, 12, we got to see their deliberations. There was a camera in there, and it was fascinating. Every argument, I thought, my gosh, maybe I am a pretty good lawyer, right? They just basically dismissed it.
Yeah.
The things that I thought were kind of throwaways, they lapped it up. It was incredibly interesting, and it was a further justification for the thought process of try the case to the jury. Don't try the case to yourself.
Right. But again, using that logic there and that experience, I mean, wouldn't that sort of influence you to use focus groups to test your argument? I would think you'd want to do that based on that experience.
Well, focus groups are incredibly expensive. And I make no bones about this. I serve the entity that that hires me.
Sure.
And I say that with tongue in cheek because I don't control the pocketbook.
Right.
And so many employers are just bent on the idea that they're right, and they don't need the focus group. Sometimes as a lawyer, knowing what the maximum amount of the exposure is, it's simply not worth getting a focus group. However, there is a certain threshold in my mind in certain jurisdictions that I know I will go to the proverbial mat to make sure that we have a focus group for that. And the neat thing about focus groups now, they're so sophisticated. You can use them for different things. You don't have to try the whole case.
Oh, yeah.
You can use them for your opening. You can use them for your closing. And so it's really a specialized venture now, and that's great because that's something that I tell clients, and they understand that they're more likely to piecemeal it as opposed to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a full focus group and trials.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you're mainly on the defense side?
Mainly, yes.
Mainly,
yes.
Okay.
I have done plaintiff's work and will continue to do it. I do it some in the commercial area of business litigation, and I've also handled plaintiff's cases on the employment side.
What do you prefer? What gets you excited? Which side of it?
It's not a matter of the side for me that makes it interesting.
Yeah.
It's the issues, the facts, and the witnesses. And then most importantly, the challenge.
Yeah. So tell me how you got started there. I know you're in Kansas City, so
yes,
and you got a bias towards Missouri. Is that where you're from? You from Missouri?
My dad, I'm what would be called a military brat. My dad was in the service for 27 years. I grew up in Germany, France, Washington, D.C., Virginia, North Carolina, you name it.
Oh,
wow. My dad had an illness and retired here in Kansas City because this was the closest place where he could continue to do what he did. And he was originally from Independence, Kansas, which is, I think, say a couple 100 miles from here. And so I think maybe 7th, 8th grade, we came here, and so Kansas City is home for me.
Okay, so that's home.
Yes.
But again, on the Missouri side.
On the Missouri side.
Yeah,
yes.
You don't go to Kansas. You never go over there.
Well, I have a couple of friends that I tolerate them being from Kansas. I joke about that. We have a very friendly rivalry here in the Midwest. It's not only Kansas, Missouri, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri. It's really predicated on college sports more than anything. So
yeah. No, I mean, yeah, college sports in the Midwest, Big Ten, Big A, that's a big deal. I know that.
It is.
Yeah,
it
big
is.
deal. Yeah. Well, I mean, is there a? I know I just had this discussion, but I mean, a lot of times too. Maybe not where you are, but there's a difference, like in state income tax. So people go over to either side if they want to buy a big, a car or something because they can save on the state. Is there a difference between the two states?
I don't know that there's a difference in the taxes, but there are certain uh, politically charged issues that will drive you to one state or other without
Okay.
being controversial.
Yeah,
Here's
yeah,
what.
sure.
Um, Kansas passed a law that legalizes gambling.
Okay.
Missouri has refused to do that.
Oh,
So you can, so if you want to gamble on Vegas style, if you will, then you just go over to Kansas.
yeah, yeah. Riverboat
Here in
stuff, or
Kansas City, Missouri.
they
I'm
have
sorry.
riverboat casinos?
No, they actually, booking like I'm not saying there's a Caesars in Kansas, but
Yeah, yeah.
that sort of thing. The same bets that you would make in Las Vegas
Uh,
on the Chiefs or the Kansas Jayhawks or Missouri Tigers.
oh, interesting. Yeah. Well, I'll be in Las Vegas next week, so if you want me to
Ah,
place, you want me to place a bet for you, let me know.
all right, Kansas City Chiefs. I
Kansas
am an
City
avid
Chiefs.
Kansas City Chiefs fan.
All right. How's Patrick Mahomes doing?
Doing well. I think I was telling a buddy of mine that's a former Kansas City Chief, two of them last night. I said, I think this is his best year. And they said, why? I said, because you don't rely on a guy that runs a 4-2-1 all the time now.
Right.
And so you're forced to read, to make your second and third reads and make them on the run. And that makes it for a special year for me. Ultimately, I don't know if that'll catch up with us, but to me, he seems like a better quarterback because of the reads he has now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, it takes a little bit to mature.
It
Um, I'm
does.
I'm from Boston, so I'm a Tom Brady fan, and he's gone. But the third string quarterback is doing amazing.
Zappio.
Zappy, yeah, Zappy. But I mean, so the big star, Mac Jones, he got hurt. He might not come back. I mean, I don't think he's starting this game.
Yeah. I read. I think it was this morning that Belichick was very coy about Mac's uh,
Return.
status,
Yeah, that's right.
and the way Zappio's played. Frankly, I don't know that they should bring him back.
Yeah, that's really something because he's a no name. He went to where the heck did he go? Houston Baptist. I mean, some no name school, and then he went Western Kentucky is where he finished. But he's really a late round pick, and he's playing amazing. So you never know.
Yeah, you don't. You don't.
You never know where it's going to go. So how did you get started? Tell me how you got started and why you wanted to become a lawyer.
When I was an undergrad, I had a history professor. I'm a avid reader, and particularly about history. And I've had this love for years. In undergrad, he would tell me, "You need to go to law school. You need to go to law school." I came from what I like to say from a solidly lower middle class background.
Okay.
And what that means is I'm not suggesting for one second I lived in poverty, and that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that it was below middle class, and I didn't even realize that we didn't have much until I got to college and saw what other people had.
Right.
Um, it was a good childhood, it was a good teenage years, but you realize just how much your folks struggled. And so um, I thought, you know what? Yeah, I'll go to law school as soon as I buy my first, nice sports car and, get a job. I just want to live for just a minute. And, 7, 8 years later, 9 years later or so, I was in law school. So it took more than a minute.
Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah. No, it's interesting what you said there because you get comfortable in where you are. You don't look around when you're a kid. I mean, you don't even realize you're happy just being a kid, right? So
That's
true.
right. That's right. And the neighborhood was largely um, uh, blue collar, um, either construction, factory workers, auto industry. That's where most of the parents worked. And so, like I said, you didn't know that you were below any sort of median or average as it relates to the socioeconomic ladder until
Yeah,
you get away. And I've never looked at it as any sort of disadvantage. In fact, I believe it's a tremendous advantage.
I'm with you on that. I tell people
My
that all the time.
my view on debt is predicated on how I grew up.
I could not agree with you more. I grew up in kind of a blue collar. I mean, it changed over the years, but it was kind of a rough little town outside of Boston, and it still is. In fact, it's even probably worse than it was when I was growing up. And I always credit that to success because you learn how to interact with all kinds of people, and you know what it's like to sort of work hard and struggle, right?
That's right. That's
And
right. I often tell someone asks me, what